We are taught that personal growth is a matter of simple accumulation. You read the right books, build the right habits, and your life follows a clean, upward trajectory, human desire for perfect order. He called its ultimate expression absolute knowledge, the belief that we can map out a flawless, logical system to encompass all of reality. But his peers saw the danger in trying to intellectualize away human messiness. The poet Heinrich Heine famously mocked the philosopher, imagining him sitting at home in a dressing gown, trying to patch up the holes of the universe with the scraps of his nightcap. This critique highlights the flaw in any rigid thesis. When we obsess over plugging every hole, we lose sight of the fact that those gaps are part of the structure. A system that refuses to acknowledge its own contradictions is a system that can no longer account for the world. When we apply that same logic to our own lives, we find that the more we insist on a perfect version of ourselves, the less room we have to move. Growth stalls because the system we've built for identity has no mechanism for handling the unexpected disruptions that actually force us to evolve. If Hegel represents our drive for the highest form of knowledge, Sigmund Freud represents its uncontrollable lower bounds, the unconscious. Freud operated in clinical reality, not academic theory. He observed that human drives, bizarre dreams, and slips of the tongue stubbornly persist regardless of how neat or rational our self-image appears. Pure ideology always tries to erase these messy contradictions. In a dark historical irony, a regime obsessed with forced state perfection, evoking a perverted version of Hegel's logic, threw Freud's books into bonfires. To understand why this disruption is necessary, look at a solid, perfect circle. It's stable, but it's also immobile. It only begins to roll when a piece is removed, creating a void that pulls the structure forward. Without this internal disparity, a human being has no reason to shift. We stay in place because there is no contradiction to resolve. This suggests that what we perceive as a painful psychological breakdown is often the required engine of lack that forces us out of a stagnant comfort zone. This internal contradiction manifests most clearly in the way we talk. Freud noted that our dreams and the primary processes of our mind don't actually understand the word no. They simply mash contradictory desires together into a single confusing image. It's our conscious language that introduces the boundary. By naming what isn't there, we create a space in the chaos, a gap allowing us to distinguish our current state from what we want to be. This linguistic gap, the ability to say, "This is not me," is the first crack in a reality that has become too small for us. Personal evolution depends on this capacity for rejection. You cannot build a new life until you can articulate the no that clears the ground. We are caught in a dilemma. We cannot survive in the rigid, delusional order of a perfect system, but we also cannot remain lost in the chaos of constant contradiction. Hegel called the resolution sublation. It's the process of two opposing forces rupturing their original forms to create a higher truth. He points to the life of a plant. To an observer, the blossom seems to refute and destroy the bud. Later, the fruit emerges and appears to destroy the blossom. At every stage, the new form seems to be the enemy of the old. But this isn't a series of murders, it's a single, unified life. The truth of the plant isn't found in any one stage, but in the fluid transition from one to the next. When we apply this to ourselves, we see that the moments where we feel most shattered are often just the erasure of the bud stage. The pain isn't a sign of failure, but evidence the next phase of development has begun. True wisdom isn't about reaching a state where you have no more gaps or mistakes. It's the realization that those gaps, the slips, the failures, and the contradictions, are the very mechanisms pushing you toward a deeper, more actualized version of yourself.